as thousands of defenseless civilians fled for their lives, the soldiers witnessed scenes of countless horrors.
There were so many refugees on the road, and they just wanted to get out of the way. So this really hampered the British retreat, because they were retreating alongside hundreds of thousands, millions of civilians who were also trying to get away. So it's chaos. You know, the roads are chaos. The whole atmosphere is one of chaos. What is going to happen? Nobody knew.
We had to keep going, but the French did suffer. We saw some terrible things there, terrible. The dead bodies on the side. It was terrible.
The terrible sights we used to see of hundreds of people being murdered and bombed and blown up.
All these refugees with prams and horses and carts, and of course the Luftwaffe, they were machine gunning to cause chaos and block the roads.
I'd just bomb anything.
They didn't care. We went through so much death, rotting bodies, men, soldiers, horses, cattle, everything. It was absolutely dreadful.
We saw an officer laid out. He was dead, lying on. I said to him, and all his little photographs were hanging out of his children and everything.
Despite the horrors, the soldiers had no choice but to keep moving.
People try and help me. It was a fiasco, absolutely a fiasco. When I saw those poor dads being blown to pieces, and you just ignore it. You just ignore it. You know it's happened and it's gone.
It's really terrible to see these women and children being injured and that, but there's not much we could do about it,
We couldn't save anybody when you're going through on an action. You despair, and you did your best, but you know you had a job to do.
There was a little boy came home from school and he found his house had been bombed and his mother and father were killed, and he said, "Where's my mummy?" Then he followed the soldiers with us.
They got little carts and bikes and prams. I can remember when we did nothing but do peasants' feet. Their feet got bad and our medic bound them up.
My feet were terrible. The soldiers kept putting me on their backs because I couldn't walk anymore. I was only a little kid. Oh, it was awful. Well, my father gave up. He didn't want to. He said, "I'm not going any further." He said, "The Bosch can have me."
Deep in a complex of tunnels beneath Dover Castle, the British began to formulate Operation Dynamo.
The person with the overall control of the evacuation was Admiral Bertram Ramsay, who was a trusted old naval hand and who was put in an extraordinarily difficult situation. He was working from Dover Castle, in fact working from the Dynamo room.
The message came through here that Operation Dynamo was to commence.
Things had to be done so quickly. You hadn't got weeks to plan what to do. It had to be done immediately.
The recovery was no ordinary military operation. Admiral Ramsay devised an evacuation involving over 900 vessels.
The port of Dunkirk had been almost completely destroyed by the Luftwaffe.
It was almost unusable. So all you had was the beaches.
The trouble was, the ships were too large to come in close to the beaches. The beaches were very, very shallow.
It was a flat, vast, duney beach, which is great if you want to sunbathe, but if you're trying to get large destroyers up to it and get men off the beach, it's impossible, and that is what they found.
What was needed were smaller boats that could actually ferry the soldiers from the beaches to the larger naval and civilian ships offshore.
The British government appealed for small civilian craft to join the rescue mission. The operation would become the biggest evacuation in military history.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
It came out by radio to begin with, and that was it. That's all people knew.